This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always taking you to your highest vibe. It's about mind, body, energy. We're going to talk probably more about the mind today than anything, but the mind affects everything else in the body. You know, if you think you're in pain, you are in pain. If you think you've got high energy, you have high energy. If you think bad thoughts, you have bad things happen. It is amazing how the mind controls everything else in the body. I know this personally. I know when I'm in a good mood, things happen for me. When I'm in a bad mood, it seems like everything bad happens. So it's amazing how that works. That's why I always love this about this show. And Chris and I get the benefit to have on people, all walks of life. And Chris, how are you today, my friend?
I'm great, brother. I'm pumped to be here.
Hey,
Pumped
man.
for today's show.
Yes, we're always taking the high vibes up a notch. That's why we're great. Hey, I just like this name, Somatic Therapist. We have Raquel Devillé. Well, hey, Raquel, how are you?
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Chris. I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Yes, coming across the pond in France, small
Belgium.
places that I've never heard of. I've been to Nice. I've been to a few other places, but not there. So tell
it's
everyone.
Belgium. It's Belgium.
Oh,
We
excuse
speak
me.
So it's the French-speaking
You threw me
parts.
off. You threw me off with the accent. Yes.
Yeah, because it's so close. It's like
You know, when the
so
French
close.
conquered everybody.
I could throw a rock across there, right? I mean,
Exactly.
Come on. Yes.
Yeah. But I'm in Belgium, so it's another
There you
country.
Belgium.
But
Yes, it is another country.
In your scale, it's
It's probably is. I wonder if it is the size of like South Carolina. Like
I don't know.
Belgium.
Your scale is so different. The US is so big. Here everything is tiny countries, and the US it's really big. So
Yes.
I have no idea.
Then we've definitely cost all parts of it. If you're in Belgium, then we're definitely have covered like we've had Australia, we've had France, we've had Europe, we've had a lot of Italy.
Spain.
So now, yes, Belgium. I'm glad we could get there. I drink Belgian beer from time to time. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like the best in the world. People say I'm more of a wine person.
Yes. I
More
drink
of a
that
waffle
too.
person.
I'm equal
Give me a
opportunist.
Belgian waffle.
Oh, yeah.
And chocolate. Chocolate is also very good.
I gave up the alcohol, so I'll have a Belgian waffle with Belgian chocolate on top of it, please, and I'll be great
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's
Raquel, set the table for our audience. Give them a little bit about your background and how you're helping people.
So I have a big background with very, very different skills because, so I'm ADHD. So I'm ADHD. So I have very different interests in life, and I pass from one to the other. And because there's a little autism in the mix, so I have the hyperfixation on a subject, and then the hyperfocus, and this has been like making my life very lots of variety in my skills. But nowadays I work mainly with neurodiverse people or neurodivergent, mainly ADHD, autism, and with giftedness. And I'm a somatic therapist, so I address the problems of the mind through the body. So it's, I think, what we call a bottom-up approach. I always forget the name, but I work with the body, and so the mind feels better. I don't know if this explains what I do.
I think it does. It's fascinating that you help people. I mean, it's great that you help people with similar issues of your own. I personally find that it's always interesting to me the people that help people that haven't had certain issues. You know, I always find comfort if someone has dealt with the issue themselves, you know, when they're helping me with something.
I read somewhere more than once that your business or what you do should be that one thing that you actually need.
Mm.
And basically, so you need something, you really explore it, and then you can actually help other people that have the same problem, because you already explored, discovered, and so on. And when you have good results yourself, you can go on and share it with others. I think it
makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Chris and I have started a couple of different companies around that premise.
I've never thought of it like that, and I've never heard it put so simply, but that just like kind of gave me an aha moment. And I feel like kind of like, wow, it really is that simple.
Well, maybe, when you start, look, services and products and things are about solving issues. And when you've dealt with an issue yourself, and if you're an entrepreneur or someone that's, takes on problem solving as a business, nothing better than your own experience.
Yeah. And your own results also, because you know what works.
That's right.
For you, and there's a lot of people that might have the same problems. Yeah.
When did you how early did you know? Or did your family know that you had ADHD, or maybe were on the spectrum?
I don't know that my family knew. I think I'm the first one really like pinpointing that, okay, so we are this strange family because we are like this. And since I actually realized this, and I shared it, for example, with my mother, things became much lighter, because now we know. So now we know that we react like this because we are like this, and it's not that we are crazy. It's just that we react to certain stimuli the way we do. But I remember when I was a kid, sometimes I needed to retreat and go and hide somewhere in a corner in order to cry and really stress. I remember doing it. And then I also remember that how hard it was to learn things by heart. And I felt very stupid because I couldn't learn things by heart. And I felt stupid, actually. But I was really good in adapting. So see something and adapt to another reality. And at the same time, I couldn't learn by heart. If I was interested in a subject, I could learn it like nobody else could. So, but I needed to be interested. If I was not interested, I couldn't learn. It was over, and I couldn't retain. And then I had, and I still have, many, many different interests, but many different ones. And then I don't know, other things in school, for example. I remember some social things, not feeling like being social all the time, and being being picky with the people, or for example, physical proximity. I don't know if this word exists in English, like when people get too close, and I would, or with physical contact, or I don't know. Difficulty sometimes also staying focused, or staying too focused, and many things I realized as an adult. And this focus thing, it's something that I really realized as an adult, and even more as a mother. So when I had kids, then I discovered much more, and that's what made me actually get into the subject. I'm a former human resources manager, so this is not my first career, actually. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, go figure. ADHD, you get tired of things, move on.
Too.
It's interesting. The few things that, like, unpacking what you just said, Raquel, how people can, and look, I don't like sort of the crutch sometimes of getting classified a certain way, so that, like, okay, that even for myself, like, I don't want people to like feel sorry for me, or to they have enough reasons to do that, but like get classified a certain way because that, I don't know, makes a certain, I don't know, limitation. I don't like to be like limited in belief just based on a certain condition for myself personally. But with that said, it is fascinating how some people get classified as different. Like you said, maybe your family was a little different, though they hadn't been classically diagnosed, that maybe there was a heritage of some of these conditions that now are more prevalent. That's a fascinating sort of, because we all have those people that we consider to be a little different. And are they different? Or is there a condition that does impact how they interact with society and the norms with which that have been established?
So for me, there's this, I don't know if we can say this in English, so I'm going to say it, correct me if it's a wrong word, pathologizing, like some kind of pathology, some kind of illness that you have, some kind of trouble or disturbance or whatever, like a health problem or a mental health problem. I don't have a mental health problem. I'm not sick. I don't have a health problem. I'm actually very healthy, and I don't have any kind of mental issues or anything. I just have my own way of functioning, the same way that I have my face, that it's different from yours. I also have my fingerprints that are different from everybody in the rest of the world. What I do believe is that the same way we have our fingerprints and the teeth also, we also have our way of functioning, and everybody is different. So, and some people, like, we look more the same or more similar to some kind of people. We function in a similar way to other people. And then, well, neurodivergent people that I don't even know if it's a thing or it's just different way of functioning. These are people that attract each other. And then, of course, they have kids, and these kids, well, will be similar to their parents, like when often the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? So I don't think it's a health thing or a mental health thing or wherever. It's just the way we are. So I don't know if I'm making sense or explaining or
no, you're making total sense. It's just, I think we like to classify things sometimes, but it is important though in understanding, because you were saying things that I related to, because I do think I fall in some spectrum or another on certain things. I know I do, because I struggled with some of the same things that you said. I was either really good at certain classes or really bad, and a lot of it was interest-based. And I'm interested, and I go down rabbit holes. I'll go deeper than a lot of people on a lot of subjects. It's also what made me really good in business is I'll go like further than a lot of people will go, like, because I just am curious. But it does impact the way with which maybe we get classified, especially growing up, more so than maybe in adulthood.
Especially in the American education system, I think, with just the amount of, because you have pharma with their hand in it here, where if you get an ADHD diagnosis, then you're getting a prescription for pharmaceutical pills. And that's where I think here it's been ADHD, for example, has put in this mental health category where kind of what both you said, I think of it as more gifted. Like even I know I was diagnosed with ADD when I was like 17, but my cousin, my friends that supposedly have this diagnosis, right? This, what we all thought was a bad thing, and they're all doing phenomenal in life. I think these classifications came out of a lot of our education system because we couldn't sit still for 8 hours a day in a chair as a 9-year-old. They say, oh, he has ADHD.
Exactly. But
maybe we just weren't learning. And what, Kelly, you said, once you brought the self-awareness to your mother, it changed everything, right? That once you understood it, and almost it empowers you. Like, it's not a disadvantage. This is my gift. How do I tweak it and use it to my advantage and help others with the same thing? Go ahead with what you're going to say, Raquel. You're going to jump in.
Yeah. So there's there's studies and so on that connect
It's a lot of stuff
neurodiversity
there. I know.
with trauma. Okay, and I can see lots of connections. But the thing is, so you are in school, sitting there for 8 hours, right? Since you are a kid. So here where I live, kids start school at 2.5 years. That's very tiny people. And we are just human beings, right? And we are not made to sit all day. So I gave this example to a client of mine. So very, very gifted, highly gifted, and ADHD. And we were talking, and I was like, okay, so imagine that you have, I don't know, 20 puppies, all different from each other, and you place the 20 puppies inside like a small space, and the puppies, they have to sit there for blocks of 3 hours or 2 hours or even 1 hour. And then they can go outside and move a little bit, but still in a not huge space for, let's say, 15 minutes. And they do this like 8 hours a day. And in the end of the day, someone comes and picks the puppies, bring them home, but still at home, they still have to work. And these are very tiny puppies. And then they grow like that, always closed in a confined space, sitting still, moving a little bit. And in the meantime, you give them sugar so they can have that sugar rush, but then they cannot. Of course, they will develop something. It's of course they will have trouble like paying attention to stuff, and they will be restless, and I don't know. And so my client terrified, but that's that's abuse, that's awful, we cannot do to puppies. But we do this to kids, we do this to human beings. And I don't want to compare or say it's the same, but in the end, it's not that different. We are placing very young people sitting all day, closed all day without the possibility of moving. And the kids, they need to move. Even adults, we do need to move. So I don't know. I think it's this lack of movement and this lack of connection with our nature selves and with nature and so on, that doesn't help much with the way our minds work. But this is like my opinion that I'm moving further and
I
further
think
into
it's
nature.
right, and it's fast.
Go
No,
ahead.
it's interesting because my wife is in the school system, and she's a principal at a middle school. So I don't like to speak badly of the American school system, but she knows kind of how I feel about some of these topics. And it's interesting because I think about I was a B student, barely graduated from college, but I didn't start thriving until I really got to do it the way when I became an entrepreneur, because I could do it the way I needed to do it that worked for me. And I had abilities and gifts, but they weren't fully realized until I could almost do it my way. And not because I'm selfish or have to do it my way, but because I think I, wired different.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about my own experience. So basically, I have some kind of an interest, and I just go and do it. So I was very good at school. In before college, then college, university, I don't know how to call it. I did it as well. And so I studied a lot, like in the formal system. I didn't have fun, but I was able to do it at that time. And then I started to study things that interested me, and I'm always interested. So I'm always studying something. I'm always doing some kind of training because I really need to learn, but I'm not able to learn things that don't interest me. So if it does not interest me, I'm just not able. I don't care. And now I can not care. So this is something that I don't care about. So I'll just leave it there. And however, when it's something that I really like, then I can be really good at it. So, and I am, and I can be the best. So it's a fluctuation between two extremes, like from being like bad and being the best. And I'm always, well,
Hmm.
one side or the other. And so I got to therapy from yoga, and even with yoga, with my yoga practice, I'm very extreme. So either the most physical one or the one that you not move. So I either do in yoga or I do Ashtanga yoga. But th- in the middle, I always have a hard time. So I'm very extreme, and the same is with my interest. It's either yes or no, black or white, and I'm always on the extreme sides of it. And yeah, and I see with age, because I actually can now, yeah, so it's, this is the way I am, and okay, so I'm okay with it. And then my family, it's like this as
How do
well. So
you how do you help others? You know, like what are the conditions that you're helping others with, you know, the things that you're doing?
so I'm helping basically people like me, and I think the first thing is that they've suddenly discovered that they are not alone. So they don't have a problem and they are not alone. And I think this is already a big part of the solution. Okay, so it's the fact that you come, okay, you have ADHD, and you are stuck in your problems, and sometimes like a little rejection from society or from school or from work or whatever. I work mainly with women, so often it's women that do a lot of masking in order to look normal, and they feel that, okay, so I'm actually normal to people like me. So they feel a lot of relief just from there. Then often they come with problems like chronic pain, for example, a lot of stress, anxiety, sleep issues, all of them together. And often they come from neurodiversity, that usually it's autism, ADHD, and also giftedness. Giftedness, it's not even, I don't even see it often as being neurodivergent, and it's kind of privileged. Oh my god, someone that got very lucky, because it's someone that has a very high IQ, and then because, oh my god, you are so intelligent, you are so lucky because you are good at school. Often people around, they don't see how troubling it can be, because these are people that are always like thinking a lot, questioning everything, and there's a lot of stress that comes with it. And for example, if there is ADHD along, and often these conditions are mixed between each other with different percentages of each as well. Um, so these are people that have a lot of stress.
So back to, I think, you helping people that have conditions that you've dealt with. Where does the process start? Like when someone comes to you, I mean, first, like you said, you acknowledging they're not strange, they're not abnormal, like there's relatability there. But then maybe what are some of the exercises you do with people?
Mm. So I'm a yoga teacher, and a lot of people start with coming to practice for yoga with me, and I do aerial, so with a hammock, so it's a lot of fun. It's not very serious, and it allows for relaxation and not thinking too much. But often people, when they come to me, so there's always an intake, but most of the times we start with I make people tremor. So it's a technique that it's called TRE, where we induce through exercises a tremor response of the body, that it's a natural response of the body. And this tremoring allows for people to relax, release stress, And it helps a lot with chronic pain, for example. And often chronic pain is related with stress and tension. And TRE, so this tremoring, it's like my starting point because it's like immediate relief. So in the first session, it's always kind of magic. And from there, then I use other techniques depending on the person's problem. So usually it starts with that. Sometimes we don't need to go further, and people just tremor. They learn how to tremor, how to manage it, and then they can practice on their own, and they don't need me anymore. If they feel like going on
All right,
and
we got to
explore
know.
more,
We got to know how this goes down.
how? What? Sorry.
How did what makes describe what causes I mean, what is the tremoring?
Okay.
Like what causes it?
So when you have a stress, okay, so before I start the explanation, there's a video on YouTube of an impala tremoring, and you can check it out. So you can see the impala tremoring. So it's the same reaction that we have. So when we have a stress, our body has this response of fight or flight. So basically, when we were living in caves, basically our stress in life would be like an enemy that would come to like get some food from us, to steal food, or a kind of predator that could eat us. So basically we had either to fight or to flight. Okay, so this is the fight or flight response. And our body, in a case of stress, gets ready for this. So there's a lot of different reactions going on for the body to respond with a very powerful movement of fighting or running away. And when this happens, all the reaction and the chemicals released in the body are released through this movement. However, our autonomic nervous system that manages all of this, so this is very fast what goes on, and it's all automatic. But if the autonomic nervous system estimates that we risk more our lives by fighting or fleeing, it will make us freeze. So it's the freeze response. So where we just don't move, different things can happen with the freeze response, but basically we don't move. When the stress is finally over, if we were in nature, our body would tremor to release the stress, to release the body tension, the muscular tension, and to release all the chemicals through this tremoring movement. However, this is not very well perceived in our society, so we tend to never let the body tremor. And when we have a stress, so for example, we are in school and something happens, so a teacher gets angry with us, we get punished for something, so it's a stress situation, but we can either fight or go away, run away, so we just stay there, like froze, and we don't release because we don't tremor. So even if the body starts somehow shaking, we stop it. And we do this for our whole lives. Our parents probably stop the tremoring. So this response, we have it. Most of people already felt it, but we tend to stop it. So what we do with TRE, it's to induce this tremoring back through exercises, okay, that create tension in the body. And then the body tremors and releases the accumulated tension and stress and trauma.
I feel like I had this with breath work before, I think. I felt my body just almost like I went into a trance and I would start shaking a little bit. But I know the feeling you're talking about. I mean, and I've definitely been in those situations. You don't have a choice but to like bottle it up, right? So essentially, anytime you're in that fight or flight, you're bottling it, and our body is holding it and storing it until you can come and induce a tremor response to shake it out. Because I've heard people have showed me videos of dogs where they wake up and they kind of shake.
The first time I saw someone
say we should be doing the same thing when we get out of bed.
Yeah, but so before we started, and Ryan was saying that his leg was shaking, and he was looking, and the leg was shaking.
Still is.
That's the thing. So, and when I told you, okay, if your leg is shaking, just go ahead and. So when the leg shakes like this and the foot, even if it's annoying for the people around you, and it is, you can l- let it go because your body is releasing, and the body is doing that because the body needs to do that. And the interesting thing for me with TRE is that actually the body does what needs to be done, and the mind does not interfere. And it's an involuntary movement, so it's funny that the first time it's very interesting because the body starts shaking and oh, it's not me, it's just the body that it's doing that, and it allows to release a lot of tension. So I often start with this because people can, well, there's a lot of release, a lot of relief as well, and it's very fast, and it's something that can be done without a therapist. And the thing is that it allows also for the person to feel comfortable with this tremoring response. So when this tremoring response appears with another technique that I use, like somatic experiencing or brain spotting, the other two techniques I use a lot, it's just normal. So the person already experienced it with the TRE. So now this tremoring, when it comes in a session of somatic experiencing, for example, it's welcome and the person feels comfortable with it. And the release of that tremoring that shows up in a session using another technique, it's very, very powerful because it's not induced as in TRE. It comes with something else. So it's like the completing of a stress response that wasn't completed and, well, ended up creating some kind of trauma. Am I making sense? Am I talking too much?
No, it's
No,
perfect. Hey, that's why we have you on the show.
yeah, this is my. I feel like I really understand this more after having done psychedelics. To be honest with you, the power of the brain trying to control the body, where it's like once you can, the power of the body when you get the brain out of the way and our thoughts is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I know, for example, I've been in some hairy situations before in my life before I got sober, where that fight or flight's going, and I could feel myself physically shaking. But you're typically in, or I would be in scenarios that I can't show that, right? You can't show that response because it's shown as fear, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think how many people are walking around just from being in traffic earlier that got fight or flight, holding that with them every day, little by little. You're building. And then, like you said, chronic pain. I mean, I've been in the medical business. I've been to chronic pain doctors. It's a horrible thing to people to deal with. But I can see what you're saying. It's like a rubber band. You're constantly stretching every day, tighter. And then it's manifesting in the body. Is that right?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
sickness, stress, anxiety.
And I don't know much about psychedelics, but the image I have it that actually it makes you feel your body more, right? So it's like a kind of increased body
Yeah.
awareness.
And I've
So
seen people having tremors,
yeah,
where,
s-
like what you said, in society, we're programmed to see that as, oh, that's weird, or that's
exactly.
something's wrong, where that's healing, right? I mean, I don't know how else to say it besides that's the body draining bad energy, purging old traumas and whatnot, right?
So i- basically, what I say a lot to my clients is when it's not elegant or socially acceptable, probably it's good for your body. So this tremoring, it's good, it's very good for you. And in the
That's
beginning,
perfect.
If it's
in the
not
beginning,
sexy, it's working. I like,
exactly. If it's not sexy or elegant, it's the way to do it. So this
you're
tremoring,
on the right
it's like,
path.
oh my
Yeah.
God, that's not acceptable. Well, after you tremor a couple of times, you don't care anymore. Just, okay, so my body's tremoring, it needs to tremor, all it's good. And you just do it, it comes really fast. You can also
I
stop
have
it
the
if you need
perfect
it.
marketing name for this.
Mm.
Shake it till you make it.
Exactly. No, but there are other things.
It's not fake it till you make it. It's shake it till you make it.
But there are other things, and people actually retain. So when you, for example, you are tremoring and you start to relax, and often your digestive system starts to express itself, like by doing some noises. It's working.
Yes.
It's perfect. Or you start yawning, and sometimes you start yawning like crazy. It's all good. Not elegant. We don't care. And then sometimes people, when they have some kind of release, they burp when you, I don't remember how you say it. So when you burp, when there's air coming from your stomach, but from the mouth, how do you call it?
Yeah.
Burping?
Yeah, it's a burp.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
burp,
burping, not elegant, very healthy. Also a sign that your body is releasing. And my clients get extra points for farting. It can also happen. Not elegant, very not well perceived in society. However, so good for the body.
Chris is going to win the contest.
Yeah, so good for the body.
Man.
That said, I never do it. But it's true when it's not
get this
elegant.
in modern medicine ASAP.
So basically, not elegant. It's good for you.
Honor the body.
Yeah.
Always,
gas.
always.
Shake it till you make it and pass that gas. Man, I hope you have some scented candles in your office, Raquel, or something.
Do you do this online, Raquel?
I do this online. It works really well.
Yeah.
And guess what? So it's like,
I love that.
Get it that way.
Among the different yoga styles, there's Yoga Nidra. And Yoga Nidra, I resisted it for a long time because you just lay down and you stay there laying down, and I tend to fall asleep. And when I fall asleep, I snore. So I just do. And I resisted for years and years. I didn't want to do it in public. And I was so happy with COVID because finally I could do it online and nobody could hear me because I can mute myself. So I started Yoga Nidra, the best one. It's great practice too. And so all these noises online, I hear them less. So it's safer.
It's amazing.
For people that might be shy about this kind of body reactions.
Raquel, where can people that are listening learn more about you and potentially work with you?
So basically, I'm online like most of people. I have a website that it's called encore.be, but this encore is ENCORPS.be. So it's .be for Belgium, but with my name, they can find me on the Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So it's probably the easiest way. And and that's it. So Encore is my framework, and it means embodied. So it's a French word made up that doesn't exist, but that means embodied because the literal translation, it's not a beautiful word. Yeah. So it's encore.be.
Cool name.
And I have a book called It's
We'll,
Not Your Periods.
have all of that in our show notes.
Yeah. So, and it's free for people listening to the podcast in the first first 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's excellent. We'll have all of that in the show notes for this episode, and we'll make sure we get those links from Raquel and her team. And we really appreciate you for coming on. And I'm fascinated by the tremoring thing. And I might try to hold the gas, but the tremoring,
it doesn't always happen, like
yeah.
But if it does, it's a great thing.
You never know.
It's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
That means you're doing it right, Ryan. Ryan is right.
Yes.
Yeah, but it does not happen that often. It happens from time to time, but it's a great thing when it does. Therefore, the extra points. So because it's not that often. Yeah.
Raquel, we really appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me and for inviting me.
Of course.
I really had fun with you.
We had a lot of fun. We appreciate Raquel for coming on. You know where to find us, vibescience.com. You'll find all the highlight clips, the full episode, and links to all of Raquel's information. And you can reach me and Chris on social media. For Chris Hansen in Miami, I'm Ryan Alford coming to you from Greenville, South Carolina. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe